Welcome to the Inside Line IndyCar Podcast. I'm your host, Zion Brown, and I'm joined by the pilot of the number 8 Chip Ganassi Racing Honda, Kyffin Simpson. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're in this bit of a break here, but I just wanted to ask you, just getting started here, the new season, a few races through, and I know now you're getting more and more comfortable being in IndyCar. Still, one of the youngest, maybe the youngest. I think it's between you and Nolan as far as the current field of 25 drivers. So, just what's it been like for you now, getting even more comfortable and getting able to learn even more from this, historic CGR team that you're with?
Yeah, it's been great. Last season went very well and we finished strong. And then this season we haven't really put together a weekend as well as I would have liked so far. But we keep chipping away at it. We keep working well together and keep learning. And I think we just got to hit our stride here in the next for the next part of the season.
What's it been like for you just being one of those three drivers on this team that the other two drivers are at this point established legends, have won some of the most IndyCar championships ever? What's it been like for you just being able to absorb that knowledge from those two, Alex and Scott?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just always um, encouraging that you can know that you're going to have a good reference. So you know that if Alex is doing well, you know what you've got, and you can uh, where you can be, and it's a good benchmark to have. Um, and then if Alex ever does have a bad weekend, which doesn't seem to happen, you know that if you're on par or not. It's nice.
In the past, you've even mentioned having Dario, who I know is around the team all the time, having him as a mentor as well. Just what are the type of things, the conversations you have with him? How does he help you maybe on a week to week basis?
Yeah, he's very helpful. He's always in the trucks looking at everything, data, video, um, all sorts of things on the engineering side as well. So he's able to kind of just be that extra little bit of experience that I don't have and kind of translate things for me sometimes, which is super helpful. Um, and help me with any driving things he sees as well. Obviously, being around for so long, he's been at most of the tracks we race at, and even if he hasn't been there, he's been going to all these tracks for so long with Ganassi. So he knows a lot and he's seen a lot, which is super helpful.
When you say he's helped you translate things, just what do you mean by that?
Helps me with like setup, for instance, on ovals. Setup is a very important thing, and that's an area where I've been learning a lot over the last couple of years, and he's helped me kind of translate what I'm feeling in the car to how I explain that to an engineer and how I get what I need out of the car.
You mentioned ovals, and we're coming up on May, coming up on the 500. I don't know if a lot of people know this about you, and correct me if I'm wrong. The first 500 you went to was in 2022, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
What was that like for you? Eventually, having joined this team, just seeing that Marcus Ericsson win and kind of being around the team for that.
Yeah, it was great. It was very cool because I got to be with the team for the whole month of May, um, and got to experience it from the team side and be in all the meetings and all through practice, through qualifying, um, and really get a behind the scenes look. And then Marcus winning at the end of it was just kind of icing on the cake, if you will. So it was very cool. It was a great experience, and it was kind of crazy that that was my first experience at the 500.
What do you think you learned just from being around the team that entire month, and then how surreal was it just a couple years later that you're in the race?
Yeah, it was very cool because I got to that entire month I was sat with Dario, sat right next to him, learning from him and kind of studying what he does over the month and what he thinks and how he thinks about things and um, how he studies everything. so it was very cool learning his side of everything and how he works through the month of May.
So leading into this year's race and throughout the season, you've talked about wanting to improve on ovals. We had the one oval in Phoenix, and you finished 10th there. Just what do you think you might have got out of that first experience? Obviously, that's a short oval. What do you think you may have gotten out of that you can take into May?
Yeah, I think Phoenix was a tough one for us, kind of as a whole team. I don't think, at least before the race, any of us were very happy with where we were. Um, I think we made some progress going into the race, and um, we were able to pull out a good result. But ultimately, I still wasn't totally happy with how that weekend went for us. Um, and I think it's very different short oval to Indy, but yeah, I do think it was a good start, but I do think we have some room for improvement, and we're gonna keep working on that as we get into May.
We've got these two test sessions coming at the end of the month here at IMS. Just what are you looking to get out of those? What's kind of the goal for you during those test sessions?
Yeah, it's kind of just getting back into it. Unfortunately, my last time at Indy didn't end so well in May, so um, after any incident like that, you kind of just want to reset and refocus. Um, I think having the time since then is helpful for me, but um, yeah, it's always kind of tough getting back in the car after the last thing you did was crash there, and so it's a little bit different for me, just kind of getting back into everything and getting my mind back into holding my foot down flat at 200 mile an hour.
What about just trying to get the hang of an oval and making sure that everything goes smoothly is maybe different from your setup and what you're trying to make sure goes correctly on a street or a road course?
Um, there's a lot of little technical things that are more on the engineering side that I don't necessarily understand. Um, there's all sorts of there's so many differences. It's kind of hard to start. I mean, you're only turning left, so everything's kind of just made to turn left, um, from camber, toe, everything. So um, yeah, it's very different figuring out what you want from a oval setup as well. And ovals drive a lot different than road courses. You're not really braking very much. You're kind of just trying to roll the speed a lot. So um, the way you drive them ends up being a lot different, and you just have to find what works and what feels comfortable.
How does the entire lead up of that month to that last point you made, how much of that is just making sure you find out what's comfortable for you in your car to make sure that you have the best race that you can?
Yeah, a lot of it. I think you spend the entire 2 weeks just figuring out what's comfortable, and then also once you're comfortable, you figure out what works well. Um, because if you're just comfortable, you're going to be slow, but you have to also figure out what works in traffic, what works for qualifying, and a lot of times those are different things. So, um, yeah, there's a lot of technical stuff that goes into it that the engineers know a lot more about. But yeah, it's a long process to dial the cars in.
I know last year's race, like you said, didn't go the way you wanted or expected it, but what was it like for you just to be able to watch Alex finally, win the 500? He had won his championships already, but to finally get that win in Indy, what was that like for you to witness?
Yeah, it was very cool. And the whole team worked so hard on that one goal every year. at Chip Ganassi Racing, there's two goals. It's win the 500 and win the championship. And so being able to knock off the first goal from the list was just a huge joy for everyone. Everyone loves winning at Indy, and this team works so hard to win at Indy. So it wasn't just seeing Alex happy that was awesome, but it was seeing the whole team and how happy everyone was.
I want to ask you some of your, bigger picture thoughts on the series. Obviously, you're in your third year in it now, but just what have been your thoughts on the start of the season? Right, like we had 4 races in March, one new race. Phoenix was a new one to most of the field. Just how was that for you getting adjusted to kind of a stranger, or not stranger isn't the word, but more of a front-loaded start than we're used to seeing?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's kind of weird because usually you get through St. Pete and then you're just kind of sat around for a while. But I kind of like it. I like that we've just kind of jumped straight into it and got going. I think it's nice that it's not going to be as condensed in the middle of the season as it usually is. You get a couple more weekends off there. So, yeah, I think it's been nice and enjoyable so far.
What kind of pressure or just, emphasis on getting better week by week did that put on you, knowing that there's not that same space in between those first few races as we're used to having?
Yeah, it was quick turnarounds for sure. And usually we like to take some time to debrief from last weekend and then take some more time to then refocus on the next weekend and figure out what we did last weekend that we can then do better this weekend. And with those short turnarounds, you don't get a lot of time to really do that. So that was difficult, but I do enjoy when races are kind of close together like that. And you can just kind of stay in that zone and stay in that rhythm of, Monday you get back and have maybe a relaxed day, and then Tuesday you're back at it, debriefing from last weekend. Then Wednesday you're refocused on the weekend to come, and then Thursday you're back at the track. So I feel like I do well when weekends are just back to back like that.
Is April more of that with just the one race in April? Is it more of that just general season-wide debriefing, or is it kind of like full focus going to Indy outside of Long Beach week?
It's a lot of debriefing, but we do have a couple tests through this month as well. We're testing at Gateway in a week and a bit. So we'll have that to focus on. Then we've got the 500 test or the open test to prepare for. So that's another thing that we're then preparing for and not really spending time as much debriefing. So it's a little bit of a calmer month, but we still have stuff going on and still have on-track action to focus on. And the guys have cars to build, and engineers are always working on everything. So, it never really stops.
What were your thoughts as somebody who had never raced at Phoenix or Arlington? Obviously, nobody had raced at Arlington, but just on those 2 new-ish races, what were your thoughts on both of those?
I thought they were cool. I thought Phoenix was interesting. I kind of felt like it was a bit like Gateway. And I know some people have been there before, but it was my first time there, and I thought it was kind of a cool track. Felt like it raced quite well, which was nice. And then Arlington was interesting. Wasn't really what I expected it to be when we were hearing all the news about it initially, and then once we got to the track. But I did really enjoy that track. I thought it was a really fun track to drive. Um, I think with just a couple small improvements, it could be by it. I mean, I already think it's probably our best street course, but I think with a couple small improvements, it could be by far the best street course on our calendar. And yeah, I was very happy with how it turned out.
In what ways was it not what you expected it to be?
I just didn't. I thought it was going to be smoother. I didn't expect it to be as bumpy as it was. Um, I think a lot of people did. I mean, we kind of saw after everyone's install lap there, everyone was raising the cars and everyone seemed to have too much bottoming. So I think everyone was kind of caught out by that. But then once everyone figured it out, it was okay. And I do still think it was probably a bit too much. So, I feel like if they could repave the back straight, just the back straight, that's really all they would need to do to make that race. Uh, I mean, I don't want to say perfect, but pretty close to it.
For sure. We talked about how hectic and how loaded March was. We'll have the summer and everything, and then we get to August and Labor Day included in that last race at Laguna Seca, and it'll be the same thing kind of. So do you feel like there's less worry about getting to that stretch of the season, considering you just went through a similar stretch?
Um, yeah, I mean, not really. Like that's how the end of the season always is, where it's pretty intense and you've got lots of back-to-back races and um, it's not really anything new ending the season so quickly like that. So I enjoyed how that went last year with a busy end to the season, and I don't see why I wouldn't this year as well.
We just talked about that new street race in Arlington, and there's going to be a couple new street races now at the end of the season with DC and Markham. What have you kind of seen from those two so far? How do you expect those two to run?
I haven't seen much from either, honestly. From what I've heard of DC, I feel like that could be cool. Um, I'm excited to see how it turns out. I think it's a very cool opportunity for IndyCar. To be able to be promoted in such a big way. So I'm very excited for that and what that does for the sport. And then Markham, I'm just excited to kind of check that out, see what the new track looks like and how it races. And I feel like, I'm kind of sad we're not going back to Toronto anymore after my podium there last year, but I'm excited to check out the new track and new location.
Getting into more non-racing topics, you told me before we started recording that you were able to go back to the Cayman Islands for a little bit in this bit of a break we have, and I know something you like to do is kite surfing. I know it's might be out of season there right now, but did you get to do any of that in your time off?
Yeah, there was a bit of wind. I think we had like 3 days of pretty solid wind. So, yeah, we had some good fun. Enjoyed the time off and had a nice little reset after Barber.
How does one get into kite surfing, and what are the challenges of it?
Um, I don't know. In Cayman, it's fairly easy. It's kind of um, everywhere. Like there's lots of places you can do it and you can learn. Um, Fairly popular there as well. Lots of people know about it. If you live on the island, I'm sure everyone's seen kites up in the air throughout all around the island whenever it's windy. So, um, pretty easy to get into it there. Um, Other places it's not as common though. Is kind of the main thing. Like you need a good windy place to enjoy it. And not everywhere has that.
when you're doing it? Who do you usually go with? Is it friends? Is it family? Both? Like, who are your kite surfing buddies, if you will?
Yeah, I'll usually go with my dad. He's the one that got me into it. And he, like, whenever there's wind, he goes. Um, so most, like, 90% of the time I'll go with him. And then some of his friends are big into kite surfing as well. Um, and their sons, and um, yeah, it's just kind of whoever goes. Not everyone goes all the time, so um, and then people go to different spots as well. So it's just whoever's there is there.
When you talk about being from Cayman, that's not really an area that we see a lot of drivers really come from. Just what's your sense of pride in kind of that upbringing and being able to make it to the IndyCar circuit? Coming from that area.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great honor to be representing not just Cayman but the whole Caribbean, and it it's just cool because there's such a great motorsport culture in all, well, I don't know about all the islands, but a lot of the islands. Where I grew up in Barbados, they love a rally down there. The rally every year there is always packed, and it's just great, um, great vibes and entertainment, and the energy around it is always amazing. And anytime Bushy Park puts on an event, there's always a lot of people there enjoying just motorsports, and um, so it's just uh, yeah, it's a great pride to represent all of them on such a big stage.
At what point in your life and your upbringing did you realize this was what you wanted to do for sure?
Um, it was pretty soon after I got into karting. I got into karting when I was about 9, 10, and then I started watching F1 after that, and um, probably my best friend at the time, Zane Maloney, he was he had been karting for a long time, and he was big into F1, and he already knew that's what he wanted to do. And I didn't know at first that being a race car driver was a job. And then once I kind of discovered that, I decided that that's what I wanted to do because I just love racing so much.
Who were some drivers that growing up you looked up to watching F1 or even any other series?
Um, I never really had like a someone that I looked up to when I was growing up. Um, I watched um, kind of as I was growing up. Hamilton was very dominant in F1, so he was obviously someone that I thought was and still think is a great driver. Um, and so uh, I thought he was very cool. Max Verstappen, I thought was very cool as well. I think he's a very impressive driver. Um, but I never really had someone specific that I thought was great or an idol per se.
Gotcha. I mean, when you look at your team at Ganassi, you guys are the only three driver team with none of the guys being from the USA. Just how cool is that for you guys, all coming from different backgrounds and driving in this North American USA series?
Yeah, it's great, and I think IndyCar in general is very cool in that way with lots of drivers from all over the world. Um, so it is very cool. It's cool having the kind of different cultures in the team. Um, and yeah, it's good. I think all of IndyCar is very similar, with lots of drivers from everywhere, Europe and South America and Mexico, everywhere. So yeah, very cool.
Is it almost like a bonding thing, just learning about each other's cultures and maybe sayings and different things like that you guys may have between each other?
Um, a little bit, yeah. Um, you, we kind of learn some Spanish from Alex every now and again whenever we're trying to, learn some Spanish for some sayings or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know, not a ton.
Gotcha. Well, it's about all I have for you, Kyffin. Thank you so much for joining again, and best of luck with the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
That's Kyffin Simpson, driver of the number 8 Chip Ganassi Racing Honda. This is once again the Inside Line IndyCar Podcast. You can watch all these podcasts and more on the YouTube channel, IndyStar TV, IndyCar. And of course, you can read all of our motorsports coverage at indystar.com/sports/motor-sports. This has been another episode of the Inside Line. Thanks for listening.